There's something happening in Colorado, which is not so good. The corridor of people that don't understand the rural lifestyle, that live in all the cities in Colorado, are controlling that state. This would be the end of farming and ranching and private land ownership in Colorado, because what they propose is that they want to set up a committee that cannot have any farmers and ranchers on the committee to decide what happens to our public lands and private lands in the name of conservation. This is an activist environmental proposal to take over that entire state, because if they get control of that, they can literally dictate the use of any land, public or private, in the name of conservation.
Hey there, friends. Welcome back to As a Man Thinketh on Unelected TV. So what the heck is going on in Colorado? What's going on in Colorado is people there just don't want to eat food. They have a thing against farmers and property owners, and it has been going on for years. If you guys remember, last year we covered several times a ballot initiative that actually gained some traction for a while that was aimed at shutting down slaughterhouses in Denver. And that particular slaughterhouse happened to be one of the only slaughterhouses in the region that specialized in lamb, sheep. And it would have had an impact on a huge number of farms within the region of that Front Range of Colorado. And if it had gone through, you know, number one, they would have had to ship their sheep almost all the way out to California to get them processed in the numbers that they need them to. It would have been devastating to the industry. And, you know, there were all sorts of information booklets and packets on, you know, what could happen to you if, you know, after the fact, what would farmers do? And it was all about, you know, repurposing the land, some crazy stuff. But Colorado is a beautiful state. It creates beautiful things. My wife came out of Colorado. I just could never live there personally. My mother-in-law is always like, we need people like you to move here so that we could change things, but not with stuff like this going on. I'm sorry, but not like stuff like this. Real quick, guys, as many of you know, we homeschool our kids, and one of our sons was learning about the ocean last week. So we took him on a trip to the Outer Banks. One of the benefits of living in North Carolina is you're a couple hours from the beach, a couple hours from the mountains. It makes for great camping trips. But we were out there, and I have a thing against sunblock. So I got burnt to a crisp. One of the things that I don't like about sunburns is not so much the pain of the sunburn, it's as it starts to dry out and heal, the itchiness. It's like having poison ivy all over your body. It drives me nuts. I can't think straight. I actually used one of our Bison tallows, Buffabro, it's a hand cream I use occasionally. Wife likes me to have some soft hands even though I'm out working all day. And I put that Bison tallow on my itchy back, and after about 10 minutes or so of it soaking in, the itch went away, never came back again. This is the most remarkable thing. And I told my wife about it, and she had done the same thing with the YOLO, which is a moisturizing cream. They're really just scented differently. And then when we figured out that this stuff worked well on sunburns, we did some reading on the labels, and we decided that Brenaboo, the baby Bison tallow, would actually would work the best on sunburns. So we do have more Bison tallow products coming into the store. We were sold out of some for a while. So check out some of that Bison tallow. It's amazing stuff. We're still learning all of the benefits of it, but it's truly, it was a game changer for me. When I use that aloe stuff, it accelerates the peeling process for me. This took care of it. So this is kind of important what's going on in Colorado. So I'm going to read some of this so I don't miss anything, because I want you to understand this war that's raged on property owners and farmers in the state of Colorado. If this initiative goes through, it would wipe out property rights in the entire state, in my opinion, and in an undemocratic way. So what we're talking about here is what they're calling the Colorado Wildlife Biodiversity Protection Act. And we're going to discuss what it means for livestock producers and property owners in general. On April 18th, the Colorado Legislative Council received language for a Colorado ballot proposal that is currently under the number 2025-2026, number sign 82. And it's pending review and comment. So this is in the early stages, and sometimes if you can, it's best to try and stop these things in their tracks before they get too far. Colorado farmers and ranchers have always been stewards of the land, but now, under the banner of wildlife conservation, this sweeping new ballot proposal threatens the livelihoods, property rights, and the future of agricultural production in the state of Colorado. The proposed Colorado Wildlife and Biodiversity Protection Act sounds pretty noble, right, on the surface, but under the surface, this is an attempt to gain control for somebody's ideology, and it takes away almost all the rights of property owners in the state. It would be detrimental to the rural lives of rural communities in Colorado. Basically, this act would create a new unelected commission with sweeping authority called the Wildlife and Ecosystem Conservation Commission, the WECC. That's going to be the headline news for the bad guys in the future. This commission would become a powerful new agency with almost no democratic accountability. None of its 9 members would be elected. Instead, they would be appointed by universities, environmental groups, and policy institutes, with a requirement that no member may have any financial ties to agriculture, energy, or development. So basically, the people stepping in to take control over your land are the people that have nothing to do with your land. This group will have enforcement authority with the power to inspect properties, conduct investigations, issue subpoenas, and refer landowners for prosecution by the Attorney General. Let's go over some of these powers that this group will have. The WECC shall serve as an advisory and enforcement body operating in collaboration with the CPW, USFWS, oh Lord, and other entities. In the event that CPW, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, or another relevant agency is legally disbanded, defunded, or judicially determined to be non-functional, so we're already there, folks. The WECC shall assume all statutory wildlife conservation functions previously assigned to such agency until a lawful successor is designated. At least they're admitting the CPW is dysfunctional, and they need a new agency to take over. The WECC may designate state-listed endangered species, conduct independent ecological impact assessments, require mitigation for any project determined to harm endangered species or wildlife corridors, develop voluntary conservation programs for private landowners and businesses, issue investigative subpoenas, inspect ecological sites, and refer cases for prosecution. If you're a landowner, you're a villain. Wildlife corridors are basically a Trojan horse for government control over private lands. One of the most concernings of this act is the creation of a statewide wildlife corridor network. And this is something that I actually was talking briefly to Shad Sullivan via text message about a week or so ago. And I did a video on this with the mod case, and you know, it seems like these wildlife corridors are really gaining traction. They've got a lot of funding that doesn't necessarily come from the U.S. While the program is framed as voluntary, the language shows that participation comes with strict oversight. For farmers, ranchers, and landowners who sign up for initiatives, the WECC will require approval of a site-specific conservation plan to continue agricultural or grazing activities, conduct annual monitoring and compliance verification, revoke benefits if they decide you're not following their guidelines, issue new rules at any given moment in time, including habitat benchmarks, land use permits, and fencing restrictions. That reminds me of what happened out in California, Point Reyes. You guys join this program, we're gonna let you guys farm here for as long as you need to. And then recently, by the way, we're kicking you off. In other words, once you enroll, you're handing control of your land to the commission stacked with anti-agriculture interests. Traditional uses like grazing will likely be declared incompatible unless they pass WECC's environmental test, which is incompatible. Of course, on Point Reyes, I believe what they're doing is they're actually renting cows and bringing them in because they removed all the ranchers. If they don't do that, it becomes a fire hazard. So this act also mandates that any new infrastructure project intersecting wildlife corridors or near wildlife corridors must include wildlife overpasses, underpasses, fencing, and buffer zones of undeveloped land. Roads, pipelines, transmission lines, even private developments will be impacted by this. Developers can request a waiver, but only if they submit mitigation plans that offset all ecological impacts and gain WECC approval. This puts the power to halt or delay projects directly in the hands of an unelected, ideologically driven board. Even if local governments approve a project, if this proposed ballot initiative becomes law, its newly created commission, the WECC, will have the authority to simply override it. They could override your elected politicians. This could become a powerful tool to block rural development and energy projects under the guise of protecting habitat connectivity. Now, this WECC is going to be a self-funded bureaucracy. The funding for this new commission is where it gets even more alarming. Under this proposed ballot initiative, WECC is designed to fund itself through fines, penalties, and impact fees. That means the more violations they find or define, the more money they make. According to the document submitted, 20% of every fine goes straight to WECC's operating budget. I'm sure they'll start paying those board members after a while. 30% is earmarked for land acquisitions, enabling the state and its partners to take more land out of private hands. So we're just going to fine the heck out of everybody and buy up all the land. It's a brilliant idea. Impact fees of at least 0.5% of total project cost will be charged to anyone building on more than 50 acres or near a designated corridor. WECC can raise a percentage whenever it wants, using vague criteria like ecological severity or economic feasibility. All fees must be paid before construction begins, creating a significant financial barrier for rural development. I'm not against, slowing down rural development. I've got enough of it out where I am, but I mean, come on. You're creating a bureaucratic agency that's made up of unelected officials that has the right to override elected officials, and then they have the right to just raise their fines and fees whenever they want to. The proposed ballot initiative also opens the door for radical environmental and animal rights groups to become operational partners in Colorado conservation policy. They already are. I mean, let's face the facts. Through so-called public-private partnerships, WECC can channel money and authority to nonprofits that promote rewilding, predator reintroduction, and anti-animal agriculture ideologies. I'm pretty sure that that's already going on, but this would just make it worse. They're even authorized to apply for and spend federal and private grants provided they align with the Act's goals, which include rewilding, emissions offsets, and land conservation efforts. That means groups with political agendas could gain regulatory control over your land and operations, all with taxpayer support and your fines. The Colorado Wildlife and Biodiversity Protection Act is being presented as a science-based conservation measure. In truth, it's a radical shift in land governance, a threat to private property rights, and a tool for ideologically motivated outsiders to reshape the rural West without the West's consent. And that's true. I mean, you don't even have a spot on the board, right? Because you're a farmer. Many of you have noticed that we keep wearing these leather patch hats that say defend the right to farm on them. These leather patch hats support our nonprofit, Meet My Neighbor Productions. You can get your hat at Yanasa Trading Co. and help us defend the right to farm through education, outreach, and, as we've been doing over the last couple of years, farm relief efforts. So get your leather patch hat and let others know that you defend the right to farm. So this initiative is actually a part of a larger strategy. They're going to be flooding the 2026 ballot with measures tailored to the Front Range's environmental conscience, regardless of the cost. If you are a landowner, farmer, now is the time to get informed. This is not the only initiative that's coming out. It's probably one of the most absurd. And ironically, knowing some of the people in like Denver and some of those Front Range cities, it may actually get traction. And that's what was so scary about the ballot initiative last year, and why we revisited that in the fall with interviews with Colorado State University and the Western Stock Show, we wanted people to understand the greater impacts that these absurd initiatives have on the general economy and the livelihoods of people. These people that put these things forward, they don't care about that. What this is it's a power grab from these NGOs. I mean, this is a well-written proposal. It's not coming from, John Doe sitting on his, or I guess John Doe would be more of a tractor name. I need somebody that's sitting there doing their yoga or something, but it's not coming from somebody like that. This is coming from the NGOs. They're wanting to gain authority and control over, the state of Colorado, and they don't want to have to deal with going through elections. They don't want to lose that control, so they want to take democracy with it. So to be fair, I'm going to look over some of the potential benefits of the act, which is ensuring the long-term health and stabilities of Colorado's wildlife and ecosystems. I mean, yes, it does do that. Providing a more robust and sustainable approach to conservation efforts. I wouldn't call it sustainable. If you're going to find all the people in order to get the funds to do what you're doing, you're going to find them out of existence, and then you're no longer sustainable. And then you'd have to take the money from taxpayers, but you're destroying the economy. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable. Protecting valuable habitats and supporting biodiversity. But ranchers do that too. Like if you watch this channel, the places we have been and the amazing practices that farmers and ranchers have been putting forward over the last decade are impeccable compared to how states and governments manage their land. Ensuring that conservation efforts are based on sound science. I mean, you want to know some science about how to manage land, talk to a rancher or a farmer. And the thing is they know more about their piece of property. No piece of property is the same. They know more about their piece of property than anybody else. And so the way that they take care of their land, for those who care, and it's a growing population that do, no university student is going to outdo them. So guys, keep your eyes out on this one. This is not something we want to see move forward at all. And if it moves forward in Colorado, this is what you have to pay attention to. These crazy ideas that come out of some of these western states, they always end up popping up somewhere else. I mean, look at Maine buying off, farms from farmers because they have the equivalent of a drop in a swimming pool of PFAS chemicals on their land. Take a look around you. We have to start sticking together in fighting these things and putting an end to them before they spread. And they keep trying to push these things forward. I don't know how you stop them from doing it. They make it sound like a noble cause, but it's anything but noble. When somebody puts forward in a ballot initiative to take away the democratic rights of voters, there is absolutely nothing noble about their cause. They're using the environment, they're using animals, they're using all of these excuses to steal away the rights of the people living in that state. And it's absolutely sickening. Anyway, guys, stay tuned. I've got more for you this week on As a Man Thinketh here on Yanasa TV.
It's been months since Hurricane Helene flooded farms like this one in western North Carolina. Now help is arriving from hundreds of miles away to help farmers restore their soil and their livelihoods.
Over the past several months, Meet My Neighbor Productions has trucked and delivered over 1,000 cubic yards of compost in addition to hay, grain, chicken tractors, grow towers, feed, and other immediate needs to help western North Carolina farmers provide critical, local, and nutritional food to their communities.
From the bottom of our heart, we thank everyone who's donated and helped out.
This is a game changer. We're very grateful.
Meet My Neighbor Productions, or MMNP as we call it, is a nonprofit we created to support our farming and rural communities.
It takes a lot to feed a whole community of people. The lettuce that you ate was grown right there. Like, you cannot get more local than that.
Since its inception, MMNP has been community funded, enabling us to focus on stories without the prejudice of the government or large foundations.
You don't understand how big your documentary is. Your documentary changes everything across an entire nation.
Meet My Neighbor Productions has grown from a small farm series to documentaries ranging from the coast of Maine to the mountains of British Columbia all the way down to the panhandle of Texas, supporting farms and educating the consumer.
Yeah, farming's in trouble. Those times are gone. And the small farmers, pretty much gone.
While the rest of the world is fighting to destroy rural livelihoods, we're striving to educate the public and ensure the strength of our rural communities.
There's nothing more real than growing up on a ranch. You know, you get to see the life.
Our documentaries have opened eyes, our Rural Youth Fund has opened doors to new frontiers, and our Relief Fund has saved communities.
People just started coming out of the woodwork to help. So it's a pretty exciting thing to see so many organizations just come together, and especially so many people from 200 miles away.
Take action now and click the link below this video.